come up off that neck. Into the trends. See a lead be the band. Storm winds when we slide. Right when the top down, bitch, you high. I'm high and I'm vibing, pumping Zai. My pride is OT providing. Trying to come up on a dial. Distro distributes the product. Make it pop like Crisco, nigga, who want a fry. Got back from Buckhead where they stack bread like a bunk bed. Woofing on the neck, boy, gotta be a dust head. Don't get mad, get even. Shorty beat with them heathens. Call me JB Bickerstaff. Got some shooters in Cleveland.
Welcome to Bleachers and Speakers. I'm your host, June. I got my NFC North comrades with me today on today's show, Who Will Be King? I got my co-host, B. Foster, with us as well. We're going to go around the room. Dave, introduce yourself to the people and tell them where they can find your shows.
Hey, everybody. I'm Dave from Vikings First and Skull. And yes, I'm the Vikings representative, and this team makes me drink, and this season so far is no different. We've already started off that way, but we are now rolling in to week 1 here in a week and a half, and we can't wait. It's going to be a blast. You can find our stuff over at Vikings First and Skull, YouTube, Facebook, Fans First Sports Network, Twitter, and anywhere else you can find someplace you can type in fans or Vikings First and Skull.
Yeah, that's what's up. Tune in to Dave's shows. Pay.
I'm worried about you, Dave. I hope your team isn't driving you to drink the cheap stuff, at least. Because you know that purple can, because you know your team wears purple. That purple can of Four Loko, it's not a good look.
I don't think Dave drinks cheap stuff.
All right, good. You haven't hit rock bottom yet. I'm glad to hear that. I don't want any of my NFC North comrades to crash out. Speaking of which, I'm Pay of the Bear Club Pod, also under the FFSN podcast banner. We cover the Chicago Bears. If you couldn't tell from the derivative of my podcast name, you can find that show anywhere you get your podcast. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else. Check us out.
All right. Foster, introduce yourself.
Foster, B. Foster, one half of Bleachers to Speakers. I'm excited for the beginning of the season. I think we're about 10 days off of it. Maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Well, you can also find me and Foster on Bleachers and Speakers. Subscribe to Bleachers and Speakers on YouTube. And for your audio feeds, those very aggregates that Pay mention, you can catch us there, Bleachers and Speakers, in the search, and follow us. Make sure you download those episodes. Make sure that notification bell is on, so whenever we drop, you won't miss an episode. Fellas, I want to go around the room and start asking some questions, but give us a brief, you don't have to be too brief, but give us a description of how you think your preseason went. A lot of people don't look too deep into it, but some people do. So Dave, how did preseason go overall?
3-0, baby. 3-0. We hadn't won a preseason game since 2019, and we go 3-0. And it means absolutely nothing. We all know that, especially with the people above me who went 4-0 way back when and then started their season and went 0-4.
Well, thanks, Dave. I really appreciate you for reminding us about that.
But we had a whole bunch of injuries, including, the promise of what is J.J. McCarthy, the future of the Minnesota Vikings. He had a meniscus tear on his knee, and he went through surgery. He's out for the season. And we had a whole slew of other injuries. But other than that, it went pretty well. I'm not going to say it was horrible, but it went pretty well. I think we've improved on the defense, which should make things scarier for the opponents in the North. And on the offense, we get Sam Darnold. We'll see how that question mark works out.
How's he been looking?
For the most part, pretty good. which was what we expected. Sam Darnold is always notorious for being good in camp when he's not under pressure. Sam Darnold's problem is when he gets pressured.
Mm-hmm.
If you get into the stat geek side of things, if you look at, look at his throws and his percentage, they're outstanding until you get Sam Darnold under pressure. And his pressure stats drop like a rock.
Mm.
And all QBs under pressure stats drop, but they don't drop to this extent. And that's what we're worried about. But we have Kevin O'Connell as our head coach, and Kevin O'Connell fixed Kirk Cousins on some of his, what I would consider mental deficiencies when it comes to playing football. And all that under pressure stuff falls under that mental side of the game for a quarterback. So let's see if KOC can work his magic with Sam Darnold.
Okay. Hey, how's it going over there in Chicago Beer Land?
We took no L's this offseason, June. Not a single one. Undefeated. Even more than just the 4 games we played in the preseason. We had a flawless draft. We had a flawless offseason in free agency. We had a flawless preseason record. We are leaving camp without a single huge injury. We are leaving camp without any quarterback controversy. We are leaving camp with all of our players hitting their strides and playing their best version, being the best version of themselves as a football player. Now, I am excited. As you said, as Foster said, we got about 10 or so days left until the season started. 10 or so days to the Bears start 1-0.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I like this. I paid last year, beginning of the season. I remember you were saying that Chicago was going to be like 3-30 or whatever it was. It was a low number. This energy I like. I'm hoping it goes well for you, except for when you play the Lions. Foster.
Yo.
How'd the preseason go with the Detroit Lions there, sir?
It went pretty well. We went 2-1. I think that we were. I'm one of the most things that I'm most pleased about is the emergence of Hendon Hooker, and just giving us that look of a dual threat quarterback. We also were able to discover Jake Fromm, who ultimately would take Nate Sudfeld's job, and who is now on our practice squad. But just overall, just looking at the practice squad and who we have over there, it just kind of just goes. It's a testament to how deep our team is. Someone was quoted as saying is that this practice squad looks like the 2020 top 53 roster. Like we got a lot of guys on our practice squad that would have probably and have been on our last couple rosters. When you look at a James Mitchell, a Shane Zylstra, Donovan, we were able to bring back Donovan Peoples-Jones, who we thought might have might be lost after being released yesterday. I think our receiving room looks extremely deep now. We got Allen Robinson, who's 2 years off of Pay's familiar with Allen Robinson, but that's a hometown guy. He's from Southfield. So
slow down a little bit, Foster, because you're going off into the second topic.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. I'm rambling a little bit, but overall, I just think that the preseason went well. We were able to, find some hidden gems, some guys that we didn't necessarily think would be on the team, but ultimately, I think we're a stronger roster because of their preseason play. But I apologize.
You're good, man. I understand the Tigers are a game over 500, and you're excited.
Yes. It's spilling over. The excitement is spilling over.
Yes, Detroit Tigers on a 5-game winning streak. I think it's the longest streak of the year. I just thought I'd throw it out there because Foster covers baseball, Tigers baseball as well, Corner to Copo. You can check that out on Bleachers and Speakers as well. Absolutely. On YouTube.
And of course, the Minnesota Twins are in their end of the season collapse.
Absolutely. Equally important.
Yeah. So anyway, like Foster was alluding to, the next subject I was going to talk about, and that was by now everybody should be either close to or at their 53-man roster as far as cuts. And I just want to ask, and I'll start with you again, Dave. Any notable cuts or surprises from your roster that, you know, people like, just one of those things where it's like, oh, wow, they didn't make it, or just anybody of note that didn't make the team?
Yeah, we have a couple. The biggest shocker was our running back 3, Kene Nwangwu. Kene has been he's going in his 3rd year. He's been an outstanding kick returner. Absolutely one of the best. He's run, I think, 3 back, right? And the fastest kid on the team. Dude can fly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's been a backup running back the whole time. And this preseason, he played, I thought, pretty well as a backup running back. Now, his faults were that he doesn't see as well in the running back role, and the ability to see where holes are and where to go is something a good running back has. And it's not just speed or power or ability to cut, it's the vision. And his was coming around, was improving, but we fully expected him to be RB3. Nope. From what I gather, what's been reported, he supposedly told the team, no, he wants to go someplace else where he can play more, because as running back 3, he's not going to see a whole lot of time. And his one deficiency, which is pass protection, he got blown up in the preseason on that. So we waived him. And you know who picked him up off waivers?
Who?
The New Orleans Saints.
Mm.
Our boys down at the Dome Patrol will now get to talk about Kene Nwangwu. Well, that's the first one. That was the big shocker.
Okay.
The second one was the one of much debate. 3 years ago, when Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and KOC came in as the new regime, their very first draft pick, they traded down in the first round. They selected Georgia safety Lewis Cine. Lewis Cine is known, one, for that Georgia defense was it was full of rock stars.
Yes.
And he could crash down like nobody's business. And that's the case. He could crash down like nobody's business. Well, in his first year with the Vikings, he had a severe injury where he broke his leg. It was a game at Tottenham Spurs Stadium, and he was hitting the end zone, and he almost separated his foot from his lower leg. It was that bad. It was horrible. Well, he recovered, and he came back, and last year he was on the team, but rarely dressed for games. And he wasn't listed as any sort of hurt. And then this year, he had one good preseason game where he stood out or showcased, and that was it. So the Vikings said, off you go. And he made it all the way through waivers and has since been picked up by the New York Jets on their practice squad. Well, he'll have a chance to make the active squad by week 5, 6 for us when we play the Jets at Tottenham Spurs Stadium again. And it's going to be a round circle, where it all comes back. It's going to be interesting, but the big deal was that was Kwesi's first ever pick. And unlike other GMs, rather than letting pride get in the way, he realized Lewis Cine didn't have it in our system, the B-Flow system, so time to cut bait and move on. And that's what he did.
But he's healthy, though, right? He did recover.
He did recover. He's fully 100% healthy. He's flying around. He showed it this preseason.
Yeah, I remember him from Georgia. Pretty good guy. Hey, any notable cuts from the Bears?
Yeah, man. The only notable one, unless you've been paying attention to Hard Knocks, the only notable ones outside of Bear Nation would be the guys who performed well during their rookie karaoke exhibit. Austin Reed, our quarterback 4, he got cut after having a great Keisha Cole rendition for karaoke and playing majority of the second half in the last preseason game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Looked pretty good. It's just, it's an arithmetic thing at this point. There's only so many spots for so many people. Hopefully he catches back on with us as a practice squad and we can continue to make that happen. Other than that, Ian Wheeler, he got hurt in that same game, tore his ACL. If you watch the last episode of Hard Knocks, he did a King Von Chief Keep song. It was pretty good. I was rooting for the boy. He's an undrafted rookie, 4.3 speed out of Howard. Delayed going into medical school so he can continue to run out his no pun, his NFL dreams. So the Bears placed him on IR, so he didn't make the 53. But hopefully he gets another crack at it. No pun intended on that as well. Other than that, there were no really big names that didn't make the squad. I was surprised that Khalil Herbert is still on the team, to be honest with you.
Wow. Okay, Foster. I know you started, but you can continue your roster rant.
Yeah, I love Pace accidental bars, but as far as the I don't think there were any major like surprising cuts. A lot of these, now that I look at it, a lot of these guys were kind of around that practice squad role last year. But Shane Zylstra is a new one. He actually tore his ACL last year in practice, and for the most part, he normally would make the team, but I guess not since Sam Laporta's got here. So we're a little bit deeper at tight end now. James Mitchell was one. The guy that we ended up going with, Parker Hess. Me personally, I don't know a lot. I didn't know a lot about him. I think he's more of a blocking specialist. So you said what?
He was a fullback originally.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So right. So yeah, that was an interesting one that he made the team and James Mitchell didn't. Isaac Ukwu was the edge rusher. I think he had 3 sacks throughout the preseason, and I was hoping that he would make the roster, but they elected with James Houston over him, which I'm glad that we protected and held on to James Houston, because I think he would have got picked up by somebody else. But yeah, outside of that, CJ Moore, who was suspended all last year with the gambling stuff, but he's a notable special team specialist. So good to see that he was able to be refrained. But I'm really excited. Like I said previously, I'm really excited with the wide receiver depth we have. Not so much on the main roster, but as far as on the roster overall, including the practice squad, we're pretty deep at that big X receiver position. We went out and got Tim Patrick, who's had some injuries, but he's a 6'4", possession receiver with some deep threat ability. We have Allen Robinson, who's only a few years removed from 100 reception season, and he's a local guy. And the classic Tom Kennedy, who has been a staple on our practice squad for the last 3 or 4 years. So yeah, overall, I'm happy with what we got. We got Jake Fromm, who I think that, even though I really like Hendon Hooker and his dual threat ability, I feel comfortable with the fact that Jake Fromm can come in a pinch and place, and play in the event that we need him, because he does have some experience and he looked great for what it's worth in the one preseason game that he got.
We also we saw it coming a while ago with DPJ a couple of weeks ago. We kind of figured it was going to be, he was on the bubble according to his performance, and we said in the last couple of preseason games, he needed to do something to make the team, and unfortunately, he was cut as well or waived or whatever. But he's on the practice squad, so that was I was disappointed, but I'm not so disappointed knowing that he's not signing with anyone else and he's on the practice squad. Um, we're going to take a quick break. FFSN is going to make sure that we take our breaks, so you have to endure it just like we do. So if you're listening, you're going to hear some wonderful ads. If you're watching, we'll be back in like 10 seconds. Okay, now we're back. Appreciate your patience. I guess we can talk about some injuries. Pay is so lucky to escape the injury bug this preseason, but that's okay because plenty of time in the season for him to suffer like we have. Sorry, Pay. No, I'm just saying. We can start with Dave again. Dave, we know there's been
of course, there's JJ McCarthy. There's Mekhi Blackman that we lost in the preseason with an ACL. We had put TJ Hawkinson on the PUP because he was on the PUP. We kept him on the PUP, so he'll be eligible to return in 4 weeks. We have Dalton Reisner, who is our backup, one of the backup guards. He is on IR, designated to return, as well as one of our promising UDFAs, and Gabriel Murphy from USC or UCLA. He did well early in training camp and then got hurt, and so he's on IR with designated to return. Both of those, or all three of those, whether it be Hawkinson, Reisner, or Murphy, can come back as early as week 5 or come off their list as early as week 5, and we'll see if that happens. But as for now, it keeps them, in play. We expect them back, and then there's a whole slew. We have a half dozen on IR. They're done for the season.
Okay. Hey, I know you said you were pretty healthy. I don't want to just skip over you, but if you'd like to add anything.
The only player that figures to be in our main rotation, when I say rotation, I mean getting game snaps from week in and week out, Roschon Johnson, second-year running back out of Texas. He didn't play in the final 3 Bears preseason games. He's banged up a little bit. He should be healthy for week 1. But that's really the only major injury news, like I said, for the Chicago Bears.
That's great. Foster.
Broderick Martin was placed on the injured reserve. He hobbled off with an injury in the last preseason game. He's kind of a rotational interior defensive lineman, but not actively getting wouldn't be actively getting a ton of snaps. Obviously, Emmanuel Mosley was injured earlier in the year in camp, and also Kaminsky is on the PUP list. They don't have him added to the injured reserve, but I know that that he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Outside of that, I think we are fairly healthy going into the first game of the year, so that is exciting.
And it was reported that Terrion Arnold and Gibbs and a few other people were back to practicing. So that's always good to hear, especially someone like Terrion Arnold, who's your first round pick, goes down with a pec injury, the same injury that CD Deuce had last year that kept him out for about 14 weeks, but he's back to practicing. So
now,
go ahead, Dave.
Don't forget the other team in the division.
Yeah. I was getting to that, but I was just trying to hold off as long as I possibly can.
They've had some injury woes themselves.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
The only player that's designated to return for them is Jonathan Ford, defensive lineman. So after week 4, minimum.
Okay.
Injured reserve out for the season.
Oh, I know about this one.
They have 5 of them total.
Okay.
Right?
Count them off.
LJ
Read them off.
Davis. Huh?
Read them off slow.
Yeah. LJ Davis, quarterback. Tyler Davis, tight end. Raylan Goforth, linebacker. But the 2 big names.
Oh, yeah.
Jervian, I can know butchering that. Jervian Howard, running back.
Mhm.
And AJ Dillon, running back.
Okay.
Out for the season. Now, they have their RB1, but the rest of that team is watching from the couch, baby, like the rest of us.
Or ER, whichever's closer.
Okay.
They missed the opportunity to go get your boy Dalvin Cook. He's signed in Dallas. Was it this early today or yesterday?
It was this morning.
This morning,
Yeah.
he signed.
Yeah,
Rejoining that, which begs the question now. This is NFL wide and doesn't pertain to us. How much pull has Mike Zimmer actually got down there in Dallas? There's been 3 Vikings that have headed that way in this offseason. So it's interesting.
Very, very.
And of course, Cook's on the offensive side.
And this is a great transition because we're talking about people that have went somewhere else. Is there anyone out there? And I'm going to go around the room, and I'll start with you first, Pay. Is there anyone out there that's been cut on the waiver wire that you would see that you could possibly want on your team? I know you think your team is perfect. I know you think your championship Bears probably don't need anything, but just in case, is there a person out there on the waiver wire you would like to acquire, or a position? You don't have to be a specific person. Just
personally, I don't think so. However, as the unofficial spokesman for Bears Nation, I feel it is I am obligated to put this out there for the masses. There is a lot of chatter that since the Dallas Cowboys paid CeeDee Lamb all that money, they can't possibly afford Michael Parsons. Bears, get on it. Again,
it's not going to happen, bro. Let's stop there. We're talking off the waiver wire today. Like this
waiver trade, whatever.
It's not going. That's not going to happen.
No.
What about Dak Prescott? He's still waiting for that payday too.
Yeah, well, the Bears don't need that. No, I mean, again, personally, I agree with you, June. I don't think that's. I mean, that's more than just pie in the sky. I think that's very far fetched. For the available players, we were this close to bringing back Allen Robinson. Just missed them. But no, I don't think there were any high level big names that just got released this window. If I was to again grasp at straws, Aaron Donald's available.
You swing for the fences. I tell you just the scenarios that you choose to dive in.
I mean, we're right there, Super Bowl or bust. We're almost there, but I mean,
almost there.
Almost there. I mean, Aaron Donald is available technically. He fits the parameters.
He's retired
for now.
Foster, is there anybody on the waiver wire wish list currently that's not retired that has a possibility to pick up that you've seen that you say, hey, he looked good in the Lions uniform? Anybody you've seen out there?
Nobody in particular. I think we did a good job of of bringing back, some of the guys that cleared, as well as going out and finding some as well as finding a guy like Tim Patrick who fit a need for us. So not in particular. I think we're pretty set across the board in every way possible.
And there was a wide receiver that was cut before the Lions acquired Mr. Patrick, and that was Terrence Marshall, second-year guy at LSU, played for Carolina. I would have loved to see him in the Lions uniform, but that's neither here nor there. I don't think it's going to happen. But Dave,
not that I can think of. Now, the team reported today, or what I've heard reported from the team, is that they went for at least one, possibly two waiver claims, but the players they went for were snagged ahead of us because we were number 11. There was 10 teams in front of us on the waiver process. They snagged those. So we didn't get anybody. Now, everybody that we brought back onto the practice squad were all of our own guys that had been with us all summer long and through the preseason. So we're pretty happy with that selection.
okay. All right. Well, the beauty of it is football is on the way. Preseason is gone, regular season game. This is a week of preparation. And by now, you should know who your QB1 and QB2 are. So we'll go around the room, and Dave, and I'll ask everybody who's your QB1 and QB2. And this is a two-part segment because going to have another question after you let the people know who holds those positions. And we'll start with you, Dave. Who's your QB1 and QB2?
In our hearts, it's J.J. McCarthy. But on the field, it's Sam Darnold and backed up by Nick Mullins. Now, what's fun about Nick Mullins is a gunslinger in the old Brett Favre style of gunslinger mode, and he's absolutely entertaining to watch. He can throw 400-plus yards in a game and throw an equal amount of touchdowns to interceptions. So you never know what's going to happen. Hey, he almost beat the Lions twice last season, but that's who our backup is, and of course, our starter, Sam Darnold, who hopefully KOC can pull out all of his negatives and his positives will shine like the number 3 overall pick he was way back when, and he becomes a stud.
Okay.
We've got the weapons for him, so he should.
Absolutely. Hey, who's your QB1? Well, we know who your QB1 is. He's probably fresh from the nail shop. Who's your QB1 and QB2 there, Pay?
QB1 is, as you said, he who does not need to be named. QB2, a guy who I've come around on, no Diddy, but Tyson Badgett. He's solid. He's solid. I've had my doubts on him watching him last season in the 4 games he started while Justin Fields was nursing a thumb injury. Thanks a lot, Dave. And most of my aversion to him, I guess, with being a starting quarterback for the Bears was mostly because of the discourse that comes from a certain segment of Bear fans. You shouldn't let that make you feel a certain way about the subject matter, right? Just let them talk, and you just focus on what you see. And what I see now, hey, he looked damn good out there. And his dad, how could you not be a fan of his dad? Again, check out Hard Knocks. They're just good people to watch. So to Kate, he who does not need to be named, QB1.
Good, because I really didn't want to hear his name. Foster.
And he's got the best nickname Tyler Badgett does, the Bag Man. So we got to love that. It's better than this.
Bag, sacks, it's all the same. Foster, who's your QB1 and QB2 in Detroit there, sir?
The number one is our beloved Jared Goff. He gets chance everywhere he goes. He gets them at Red Wing games, Tiger games, your local wedding. We love us some Jared Goff here. But our number two is our draft pick from our third round draft pick from last year, Hendon Hooker, dual threat quarterback. I think that we all know that he has the talent to possibly be a QB1 one day. It's just going to be a matter of him getting adjusted and learning the reads, not holding the ball so long, and taking care of his body, sliding on some of these plays where he's out of the pocket and susceptible to those big hits. But he will get there, and we will be able to bring him along slowly, and hopefully we don't have to see him that much. But I have to say, it's been a really long time since we had a dual threat quarterback. I mean, Stafford had the ability to get out of the pocket and make some things happen, but Hendon Hooker is a bona fide athlete, and he's dangerous. And they say that you don't want to take the ball out of the best your best quarterback's hands for any reason, even in the event that goal line situations, 4th and 1s and stuff like that. But I think that Ben Johnson can really make some things happen if the opportunity presented itself, and we needed to use Hendon Hooker's running ability. So it's really nice to see.
Okay. Now, this was a 2-part question, but before we get to the second part, we're going to take a quick break. For those that are watching, we'll be back in like 10 seconds. And for those that are listening, you'll hear some wonderful, wonderful ads. Okay, so here's part 2 of that question, right? And you have your QB1 and you have your QB2. Are you comfortable? Not saying that the whole season, but are you comfortable with your QB2 holding the fort down in case there's an injury? You say your quarterback goes down for a couple of weeks. Are you comfortable with your QB2? And I think you can go first, Dave.
Sure, why not? There's nothing wrong with Nick Mullins. This is a house money season for the Minnesota Vikings. Anything we get in the way of wins or losses is we expect wins. We expect to be competitive in 9 or 10 win range and competing for a playoff spot within our division. But if Sam goes down and Nick comes in, hey, as long as we're competing, everything's cool. Minnesota already knows that, hey, anything we get this year is gravy because everything starts next season. So it's so sad to say that, but that's our opening stance. Now, if we get into the playoffs and start winning games in the playoffs, things are going to change. But otherwise, no. I'm not worried. I don't think our fans are worried.
No, I mean, Nick had valuable playing time last year, so.
Oh, he did. And like I said, he's super duper entertaining. And we almost beat one of the best teams in the NFC last year twice. It's
okay. Let's calm down.
Not too much. Not too much.
Let you get away with
it is what it is. Our defense is better. We're going to be in all our games, whether Nick's quarterbacking because Sam's out or Sam's quarterbacking. We're going to be in all of them.
He's not starting though. I'm actually surprised he's not starting. I mean, he's good enough to start.
Sam's got too many other upsides that puts him above. And Nick has that YOLO gene that drives coaches nuts. So Nick will be a good backup for the rest of his career, and that's what he's done. Hey, people can make some decent money holding the clipboard and being a number 2 guy, and he has. So I'm happy for him. We're good. We're set. We're okay. Now, when you get to the Chicago Bears, on the other hand, you know, they got Badgett, and the Bagman did okay last year, but I'm curious to see if he could do better than the Golden Boy.
Well, let's ask Pay. Pay, let's say Caleb breaks a nail and you have to put in your QB2. Are you comfortable with that?
If you asked me that question a month ago, I'd have said absolutely not. Lost season. Woe is me. We gotta plan for the draft again, type of stuff, right? But then again, you know, Badger's made some strides. He looks a lot more poised in the pocket, a lot more confident putting the ball in the air, something he didn't do. He didn't have that last year. He didn't have that in his bag last year. He had moxie, but he didn't have all the tools that to be a successful quarterback last year. He looked the part, but a lot of that stuff was smoke and mirrors. I feel confident that he can navigate through a month of let's say Caleb loses 4 games, the same span that JF1 had down last season. I'm confident that he can do the same 2-2, but it not just be for some outlier stuff. Because if you recall, the 4 games that he played, he lost to the Saints, one of the worst quarterback games I ever saw. He beat the Carolina Panthers, again, another quarterback game. He beat the Raiders. The Raiders did not test him at all. A rookie from a D3 school. They didn't send any blitzes. They didn't send any exotic packages out there. He got away with a lot. So I have confidence, like I said, that he could go out there and do it for the same 4-game span to still win those 2 games, but it's not necessarily on the back of some luck.
Well, it certainly doesn't hurt to have more offensive weapons on the outside. So he has when you acquire a couple of good wide receivers to go along with DJ Moore, you know, that helps. Foster, how comfortable are you with Goff? If Goff has to miss a couple games, what do you think about Hooker holding the fort down?
I am 50-50. I love the idea of Hooker's upside, but you just don't know until you see him in a regular season game against somebody's first team defense. I am much more comfortable with the idea of Jake Fromm as our insurance option, as opposed to Nate Sudfeld. I think that whereas as Hooker has the upside and the high ceiling, I like the floor option of a Jake Fromm over Nate Sudfeld. So tough to say. I mean, I think Hendon definitely has some flaws that he needs to work through as far as holding the ball too long and you know, just game management. Although I have seen him work pretty well out of the 2-minute 2-minute drill in a few occasions, but albeit against second team, third team defenses. So you gotta take that with a grain of salt. So
absolutely. And fellas, I hate to do this to you guys, but
I have a quick question though for B. Foster. When you keep saying Sudfeld, why do I hear, Sudafed and suddenly get drowsy?
yeah, I mean, that's what it's like watching them play quarterback. It's definitely gonna bore you.
Wow.
Well, fellas, it's that time where we have to talk about that.
Or Jake calls him not Jake, calls him
Well, we have to talk about that.
Nate, what is Nate Suckfeld? Is that what you
Suckfield? Yes, Suckfield. We have to talk about that other team and that ugly green and yellow contraption of a uniform. They acquired QB2 this week. Might have been yesterday or the day before. Dave, could you tell the people what happened with that?
Yeah, because we know their professional quarterback is only quality quarterback that they have, and the question is on quality. He was 7 out of the last 9 games last season, got him a $55 million payday. But when you started looking back at, when you start looking back into who's backing them up, you're going, who? They traded for Malik Willis, once a promising, plenty of upside and potential QB that came out in the draft and went to Tennessee, was promptly ruined. They traded for him, and now he's backing up Jordan Love. So Mr. Love now has a backup. Do I think Malik Willis can back him up well and learn a lot from being up there under Matt LaFleur? Unfortunately, yes, I do. That is a good backup spot for him. And unfortunately, we're going to have to face him. They no longer have a nobody that's going to lose them a ton of games. I think Malik Willis can stand in and actually help them win if needed.
What do you think about Mr. Harris pay?
I actually think I don't think he's a necessary starter in the league. No, but I definitely think he's a top 40, 45 quarterback in the league. That to most people that doesn't sound like a lot, but he's a guy who can start a game, right? He's gone through the motions of preparing for football games in the NFL as a starter. He understands that part of the game, right? He was drafted to be a starter, and his skill set brings something to the table that Jordan Love doesn't actually bring to the table. He has a run that RPO package in his arsenal, right? So I do think that in the event if Jordan Love had to sit down for a game or two, that he can come out there and give defenses hell. Just because, as I said, he offers something different. Now you gotta prepare for him a lot differently than you will prepare for Jordan Love. So you don't even know you don't know how to come at him. So that gives him the upper hand. Sad to say.
Yeah, I thought it was a good move. When I saw it, I said, damn. But yeah, it's a good move. If you don't have a quarterback, then it's like, oh, it's just him. But as a quality, we all need a quality backup because you never know what could happen. And I think that was a good pickup for them. I don't say a lot of nice things about Green Bay, but that was definitely a good pickup. And it kind of sparked this conversation here by seeing that. And it came up with the topic like, okay, who's everybody's QB1? Who's everybody's QB2? And if you're happy and if you're prepared, if something goes down with your quarterback, with your starter, in which things happen. I mean, we've all seen it where somebody prominent on your offense or on your team goes down. That is, you have to have that next man up mentality. And I think with that acquisition for them, it suits them very well because I didn't even know who their backup was before that. So, well,
That's how bad he was.
Who was it?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was not good.
Yeah.
Not a standout.
Yeah.
And this all was spurred by Chris Sims put up. There are teams that, have starting quarterbacks, and what happens if their starters go out? Their season's lost. And we thought the Packers would be one until they got Malik Willis, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate.
I wanted to touch on the Malik Willis topic a little bit. My lasting impression of Malik Willis was the fact that I remember when a couple years ago when we were looking for Jared Goff's possible predecessor before we signed him to that extended his deal, and everybody was hoping that we would draft Malik Willis with the first round pick. This was like a couple years ago when we got Jahmyr Gibbs. And luckily, Brad Holmes doesn't listen to, the Lions faithful, because a lot of people were on board with that, or maybe 50-50, maybe not everybody, but obviously that would have been a poor decision. And I'm glad that we went elsewhere in that way. I think that worked out just the way it was supposed to work out.
Yeah, I have no complaints with what we have. Just making note of the QB situation. I think the NFC North is going to be really, really interesting this year. Regardless of the injuries that Minnesota has gone through, I still think they're going to be a threat. I think Chicago has upgraded tremendously since last year. I think Green Bay is always somebody you have to look out for, and I expect good things from the Lions this year. So I think this division, I'm ready for football. Like period. Like it's time. Let's quit playing. We got 10 days to kick off, and I can't be more ready than I am now to see some real football. 4 quarters with the main people that's going to play from beginning to end. First string offensive lines, first string defensive lines. Let's get it. So before we get out of here, I want to go around the room one more time, and you can tell the people where they can catch your next show or catch your current shows or whatever you got to talk about before we get out of here. Pay, you can go first.
After this show on the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel, we have Pay Dirt, which is our football gambling show. We're going to get into a lot of the college football. Official kickoff is this Saturday. We're going to get into that and talk about some more last minute futures in the NFL. Check that out. You can see that on YouTube, and that's where you can get all of your episodes from the Bear Claw, Chi City Bulletin Board covering the Chicago Bears, and what did the White Sox just do? Covering the White Sox. You can also get any of those audio format wherever you get your podcasts. That is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and all the such. Check us out.
B. Foster.
As far as YouTube is concerned, you can catch us on Bleachers to Speakers. We cover 3 different Detroit sports: the Pistons post-game podcast, the Lions, of course, Bleachers to Speakers, and the Tigers Corner to Copa. We're covering every game down the stretch of the Tigers. Try to make it a year, despite the fact that we'll probably fall a little short, but yeah, you can catch us on all audio aggregators as well at those same names.
I still think you need to find a Red Wings representative to do shows on your network.
It's in the talk. It's in the talks.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. We are.
I love the hat, June.
Thank you.
Now, you can find Vikings First and Skull. Our next show is tonight, 6:30 Central. The Real Forno Show. And he's going to break down the final 53 and the practice squad. And from an inside beat reporter's perspective, tell you all what went on in the last 24 hours to set up your Minnesota Vikings for the 2024 season. That's what's coming next. You can find us on Vikings First and Skull YouTube, Fans First Sports Network under NFL Vikings. You can find us on every podcast aggregator as Vikings First and Skull. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. We're welcome to chat. We love to talk purple and gold.
Well, next week's show will be one for the ages. It's the preseason. I mean, the week before game 1 for everyone. It's going to be time to quit playing around. Week 1 will be right around the corner a few days after that. So I'm looking very forward to this show next Wednesday. So make sure you tune in because we'll be previewing our games. We'll talk a little bit. We've been reserved. I still throw a shot at Pay every now and then, but we've been pretty reserved. But it gets down to the nitty-gritty starting next week. It is what it is. Make sure you tune in and subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube.
feel like I'm JX.
J-Way.
I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless.
I'm gone.
Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that necklace.
Give me that.
Into the trends.